Damn that television. What a bad picture. Well, don't get upset. It's not a major disaster. There's nothing on TV, he said. I don't know what's the matter. Judy's in the bedroom, inventing situations. Bob is on the street today. He's scouting up locations. They've invested all their family. They've invited all their friends. It helps with their relationships. It makes them whole again. And the show gets really high ratings. Boom, boom. They think they have a hit. Boom, boom. They might even have a spin-off. But they're not sure about that. This episode is going to be all about how to make a movie from start to finish. Start to finish. You're going to go from you can be anywhere at any time and choose to make a movie. There are many, many different ways to go about it. I'm going to do my best to cover it in as little time as I possibly can. In the interest of you want to get started and you don't want to waste time listening to my dumbass. Alright, so I'm going to teach you everything you need to know. I'm going to do it quickly. The first thing you need to know before anything else is that movies have been decentralized. Since the advent of the internet, we have the technology. We can rebuild them. We can do it better, smarter, faster, cheaper than ever before. We don't need to worry about big studios. We don't need to rely on Hollywood. Hollywood didn't even start in Hollywood. Hollywood started in New Jersey and then moved to Fremont and then Hollywood. You can be anywhere on Earth, and there are many places that have already gotten started. As I previously mentioned, since it was started in New Jersey, New York, New Jersey had it started at the beginning. You got Austin, you got Atlanta, you got Portland, there's all these communities that have sprung up, and just know that it didn't take much it takes determination more than anything else. You can be that for your community. You can be, if your town is too small to do it, you just find the people that like film as much as you do, and you get them riled up to get involved in some kind of project. And you can do this anywhere. You don't have to worry about a centralized location. You don't have to start in Ohio and move all the way to Hollywood to follow your dreams. You can just start where you are, wherever you are, with the people you know, and you can do something amazing right here and now. I believe in you. On this episode of In Other Notes, we're going to talk about film. I'm going to just straight up teach you how to make a movie from start to finish as best as I can. I have some background on this, and I guess you'll have to wait for part 2 to find out. Alrighty then, let's get started. The first thing that you need in order to make a film is dedication, determination, inspiration. You're really going to have to want it, and you're really going to have to give a shit. And you're going to have to passionately tell people who do not give a shit why they should give a shit. It's going to take you a long time, and it's very stressful. It's really the hardest thing to get a movie made is a bit as stressful as giving birth. Not in the painful sense and not in the sense, but we're talking about however many people are involved on your team and however much effort you put into it. Imagine that being pushed through a narrow canal by one person. right? It's distributed. I'm so off track. I'm gonna keep this for now. Um, I think that's a Peck and Paw quote, anyways. I was trying to give it some like any good filmmaker, you're supposed to take a simple idea, and this is the basis of all film. You take a simple idea, and then you spread off in the course of one movie. You have to describe, you have to present your case. That's what a movie is and what it does. It's a work of art. Ideally, it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it's just content. Sometimes it's just content. It is what it is. The hell was I saying? It should be a work of art. It should be one idea over a length of time. If you don't have enough evidence, or you don't believe in your idea very strongly, a short film will work. Do not blame money. The difference between a short film and a feature film is not money. It is not money. You can use money as an excuse if you want, but an uncreative person can make a short film as expensive as a feature film. A creative person can make a feature film as cheap as a short film. You heard? So, alright. We cleared that all up. Do whatever you want. When you're making your movie, you have a thesis, you have a point that you're trying to make. And however long it takes for you to make your point, you make it in that's your movie. It can be 10 minutes, it can be 2 hours, it could be a TV series going on for decades. Right? The Simpsons is a thesis about how families are dysfunctional and America is dysfunctional, and it could just be a reflection of ourselves as long as there is a will to make the show and we are ourselves. As long as we follow the pattern of The Simpsons can continue to work. And as long as we don't mind who voices the show, because eventually those voices are going to pass on. And then we have to be like, that Homer doesn't sound like Homer anymore. And we either have to accept it or enjoy the 30 plus seasons that already exist on repeat. Which, in the case of The Simpsons, your idea lasted as long as the idea lasts. If your idea only takes 10 minutes, you can express yourself in 10 minutes, then by golly, you get it done. Maybe it's a poem, maybe it's a music video, maybe, it's one idea for a length of time. That's what the theme is. Now, themes can have subsets. You could be like, we have this world that we live in, and it affects us like this and like this. Now, like, for example, in 2-Day Film School, Dov Simmons complains that Pleasantville changes the theme midway through. But I disagree. I believe that in Pleasantville's case, they took the life is boring, and now we made it colorful, and isn't that great? And then shifted it to say, well, now that we see color, we can see where the problem, like, now that color is the thing, we can talk about race. And it's a subset of why life is so bland, is because we cut chunks of our culture out and ignored them and shunned them and marginalized them and all that stuff. Right, that's Pleasantville. So having two themes is okay as long as they have a subset, and I guess maybe transition from theme A to theme 1A to theme 1B with a little more finesse than Pleasantville did. Question mark. That's a cool movie. It's worth watching. I've only seen it twice. I should watch it again. What was I saying? You gotta want it. And it's only gonna be one idea. When you tell your story, you are working on one idea. And then that idea can have subsets, and you can go off on diversions, but you always want to be like, we're talking about that because we're talking about this. Okay, so the main thing that you need for the movie itself is a script. You don't literally need a script, but you need a script. The script can be an outline. The script can be a storyboard. The script can be a bunch of other stuff. People, generally speaking, prefer a script. They're all used to it. It's just industry standard. It really will help you a lot. It'll be like turning your slide into a Diddy Lube avalanche of goo. You'll slide right in. I don't know why I had to bring Diddy into this. That's gross. I'm sorry. But imagine 1,000 bottles of lube on a Waterworld slide, and you'll slide down a lot smoother. It's like, so that's what a script will do. Okay, that's why people want a script. And how long should a script be? 120 pages is as long as it's the limit of too long, and 90 pages is the limit of too short. You should be getting while the money is good. You should be getting it. Spend the money in your hood. Spend your money in your hood. It's real. Okay. What was I talking about? This episode is brought to you by Subjective Visions Music. Entertaining folks since 2006. Entertaining myself my whole life. Subjective Visions Music. Over 600 songs, custom scales, sample flips, odd time signatures. I'm the only person on earth to make a song in the time signature of 29/11. Getting while the money is good. You shall be getting it. Getting while the money is good. And spend your money in the hood. Alright, so we're back from that commercial break, and what was I talking about? You need a script. You don't literally need a script, but you kind of need a script. So that's a topic for a separate episode, right? We're going to talk about scripts now. You could use AI, I guess. It's one of your choices. I might use it for images right now, but generally speaking, I'm not in love with the shit. I think it's bullshit. It's not very fun to use. It's mostly good for coming up with outlines, which is the easiest thing, and it's the most fun thing. It's the most enjoyable part of the whole situation. And that's what for outlines, you have a whole bunch of different styles that you can choose from. The Save the Cat style is very, very popular. When it comes to Joseph Campbell, I just strongly recommend you just study the fool. Don't worry about the harmony circle. I mean, that's cool too. That's a good tool to use. But when you're talking about Joseph Campbell, don't just reduce it to some circle. Don't reduce it to the list. I like to do that too in practice. But when it comes to the theory, the dude will drop some knowledge on you that'll change your life. It'll inspire you on some deep and powerful ways. Do not sleep on Mr. Joseph Campbell. Doctor, professor, I don't know his credentials entirely, but give the dude his credit and put respect on his name. Professor, doctor, whatever you gotta do. I'm gonna go with professor right now. Professor Joseph Campbell was a genius and a leader, a thought leader. It doesn't mean you have to agree with him, but he's presenting a theory. And on some level, his theory is irrefutable. He's like, this is my observation. If you want to refute his theory, you have to observe what he observed and then come to a different conclusion. And I don't think he will. I think he has the evidence and presented his case quite quite thoughtfully, and there's a long list of long long list of books that you could choose from. The Hero with 1,000 Faces is his most popular one. It's a 4-hour audiobook. It's real fun. It's a pleasant and enjoyable read. You should do that. It's worth it. It's worth spending 4 hours of your life. You don't have to do it all in a row. You could do it like 15, 20 minutes at a time or whatever. Where was I? You need a script. AI is bullshit. It's a tool that you can use at various stages of this process, and it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to use it and whether or not it's worth it to use it. In my opinion, the money that you're going to spend, the effort that you're going to spend is kind of a wash. You're kind of just treading water here when you could be doing laps of the other way, the right way. This is a 100-year-old process, and the people who made this software are not as familiar with it as they should be for people who made this kind of software. If you don't know how to write your own, you can option a script. There are websites that you can go onto. You can find scripts for as little as a few $100s down payment. When you option a script, you have it's a down payment kind of. It's like a lease or a mortgage, any of those kinds of things. You have a down payment, and then you owe a certain amount. Okay, usually that amount is a lot lower than one would hope. Right? You're just tying it up to a certain point. To option it is to say that no one else can claim it. It's not you didn't write it. Someone else had the copyright, and to option it is to say that you are leasing the copyright, hopefully with an exclusivity contract, because that's why you're paying this money right now. Then, when at the end, when you're negotiating their pay, you say, well, I already paid you $10,000, and then whatever, I think it's $75,000, we'll put up on the screen to correct myself. I'm sure I'm wrong. But there's a WGA minimum. Your script is worth something. Don't sell it for nothing. Don't give it away. Don't let people mess with you. Make sure when you copyright stuff, keep a paper trail. Keep track, right? You sent the email to them. Your file was in that email. It came from a source. You had that source first. That's how you sent the email to them. That's an example of a paper trail. When you write a script and you mail it to yourself, that is an example of a paper trail. You said, I have a script, and I sent it to myself. You can register it with the Library of Congress. That's a paper trail. Okay, you do what you gotta do. At some point, somewhere down the line, you can say, this is mine. They didn't have rights to this. I wasn't under contract with them. They didn't talk to me when they took my script and did what they did with it. You wrote it. No one can copyright an idea. No one can copyright like a couple of words that are vague and don't mean it. Like you can't, like I said in a previous video, you can't copyright stuff like the Roman Empire. That's not copyrightable. It's not a copyrightable phrase. You can be like Age of Empires. Now you have a copyright. Right? And it's not just that Age of Empires is a phrase. It doesn't mean much there. You could trademark that, but not copyright. If you have you want to leave a paper trail. When you do outlines, my favorite is Joseph Campbell's, but you can do Save the Cat. There's one called Quixote and Cazzo. Okay, so no, I'm out of flow. No, I'm out of flow. Here we go. You follow the pattern of an outline. The reason that these patterns are there is because people respond to things psychologically. People who describe patterns to you have done a lot of research to say that I found that these are patterns that work, and there's quite a number of them. You can choose what you want. You follow the pattern, now you have an outline. When you're writing a script, you want to keep the tension going. You want to have periods of excitement and periods of peace. But that doesn't necessarily mean that peace is dull moments. Especially in a movie, you really want to take you want to keep the heat. You want to keep the heat even the whole time, right? And then you want to stir it up. That's a cooking metaphor all of a sudden. Just like for no reason. You have all these ingredients together, but you want to make one dish, right? It's the dish. You're making a stew, right? It's a chili. It's not just any stew. It's a special kind of chili. When you make your ingredients, you put them all together, and you want to stir it up once in a while, right? You want to keep the heat going because you want to keep it at an even temperature, but then you want to stir it up every once in a while. You want to keep the tension going. This is super important. You're writing your script. Every page has got to be kind of like that. There's a flow to each and every page. And they say a page per minute. This is mostly accurate. Some exceptions to the rule are, for example, 2001 A Space Odyssey. Doesn't have a lot of dialogue. There's stuff happening. Now, first of all, you, the audience member listening to this, are not Stanley fucking Kubrick. You hear me? You hear me? You are not Stanley Kubrick. Even if you think you're better than him, even if you studied every one of his films and you think you could do it better, I mean, good for you. But you're still not him. You're you. Okay? So first and foremost, the script has to make sense to you. Second and first most, the script has to make sense to the people reading it, especially your investors, especially the actors who are going to be in it. There's certain people who are going to be very involved in whether or not this film is successful, and you want to make sure that they are successful in making sure that you are successful. It's all together. Where was I? When you're writing your script, it's helpful to be particular about dialogue. Make sure that you only say things that are necessary. Show, don't tell. Show a clock in the corner with the time. You don't need a thing. Show that it's morning outside. You don't need a thing. Some of this is directing advice too. I'm assuming that you're a writer who's going to be a director who's producing your own, and you're going to take. I'm telling you, the audience member, as an individual, how to take this from step one to step all. Okay? So you take your outline format of choice and you study them carefully, and you think about which parts you want to keep, which parts you want to rearrange. You want to tell your theme. You want to present your case however you want to present it. Now keep in mind that your case can be anything you want. You know, if you got a problem with woke Hollywood, remember that you distribute a movie. If people don't want to see it, it's not because people don't want to see it because they're not having fun. If you make a racist fucking movie feel fun, people might want to see it. Look at Blazing Saddles. It happens sometimes. Like, it happens sometimes. Don't trip on woke Hollywood. People don't want to see movies if they're not having a good time. If they just want to hear your rant and rave about how you have a problem with a specific culture, and they like that culture, they're not going to have fun watching your movie. These are some things you want to think about while you're writing. You take your outline of choice. You fill in, it's Mad Libs right here. Okay, and this is why AI is so good at this part, and especially since it's short. But you don't want to do that, because then you're trying to fill in those blanks with AI, and then they're going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, it'll forget what it's doing halfway through. And even when it fixes that, again, this is a really fun process. What it takes for this is to have a work ethic. Now, if you don't have a job, you can hypothetically just wake up when you wake up. You have a morning routine, and you really want to stick to that morning routine. You really want to stick to that morning. It's super important. Whatever it is, work out, meditate, do some breakfast, take a shower. You know what I mean? You have your morning. And then you sit down and you get to fucking work. You don't have a job? You lucky fuck. Sit down and get to work. You've had your morning routine. Now you get to work. This is, let's call it the Stephen King approach. You wake up in the morning, you have your breakfast, and you start typing. You move your fingers. That's the top 7. Move your fingers. Move your fingers. Okay? You start typing. Don't worry too much about this or that, because you can always go back and edit things. You're expected to go back and reread what you wrote and edit things. It's super important. It matters. Most likely you're not going to do things on the first draft. You should see some of Quentin Tarantino's first drafts. Yikes, yo. That dude could barely fucking write a sentence. But he managed to get it all figured out and get it done. It's important. Where was I? So you're writing your script. You have your outlines. You're filling in parts. Once you have your outline, and each outline is a scene, it's a time, it's a place, it's a sequence that takes place in one location. It's dialogue between two people. If a third person enters the scene and they have a whole, like, it just, everything's different because of that, you could make that its own, right? You could be like waiting in line for the water slide versus getting on the water slide, and then the third scene saying, oh no, now I'm covered in lube. There you go. So when you're filling in these details, you want to describe, you want to get people into the moment. You want to get people into that moment. When you're reading the script, you want people to feel like they're there. And that's what matters most. When they're reading the thing, you really want whatever object you write down on that paper is someone's reading that thinking, oh, I gotta buy a lamp. Oh, I gotta buy all this furniture. Oh, I gotta buy all this stuff. And on the one hand, yeah, and so be comfortable with that. This furniture puts them in the scene, and if you want to be vague about it to give the set designer, some leeway and the producer some breathing room, good. Then you just say modern apartment. Right? Just give enough details to put someone in the scene. Give enough information to make them feel like they're there, and only that information. Not a word more, not one letter more, not a punctuation out of place. It's real like that. The next thing you got to do, once you have your script, and again, you can option the script. You could get AI to do it. You could write it yourself. I know that there's a fourth option. Oh, you can hire a writer. You can hire someone who knows what they're doing. Maybe you have an outline, but they know the process better than I can describe it to you. You can hire people. I mean, not I can't, but someone can afford to hire a writer, and that's an option too. So there's pre-existing scripts. Hire someone to write your idea. You write it your damn self. You get a computer to write it for you. Those are some of your options. Now you have a script. You're going to shop it around. How do you do that? Well, there's organizations that can help with that. I'm not super familiar with that part of the process. I can tell you a really fun story about how the Coen brothers got Blood Simple. That's one of my favorite stories. So we're going to start with that. Right? Because you want your friends and neighbors to pitch in. They've invited all their family. They've invited all their friends. Okay, so you get people can chip in $5, $10, and that's where GoFundMe and all this kind of stuff that's where crowdfunding comes in. And when it comes to crowdfunding, you gotta be respectful. Okay, you're not big time Mr. Hollywood man. You don't need $10,000 for a short film. The reason you're going on GoFundMe to do $10,000 for a short film is because you're not creative enough to think of how to get that budget down. Be respectful. Everyone is as broke as you. They're all as desperate as you, and they're pitching into your idea because they love you and they love your idea. They believe in you, and especially if you have a track record of being a reliable person, that's going to help. Me and my stoned ass, not so much. Back to Blood Simple. They filmed a scene. They were blessed enough to know Bruce Campbell and to have worked with Sam Raimi, and good for them. That's a good position to start. It's a great starting position. So they had their sequence, this powerful sequence right here. I'll show the clip. And they showed it, but they filmed it first with Bruce Campbell, and they only filmed that one part, just this one scene. They just had enough. They did it as cheap as they could. It's a powerful scene. It's outdoors in the middle of the night with the car and all this stuff. They have a friend just do it for free. And then they went around in like Beverly Hills and shit. They went around the neighborhood, knocking on doors. They went around their neighborhood and they said, we want to make this movie. Here's our script. Here's a scene. Here's what it would look like. You got to show, don't tell. You make the experience vivid and exciting, and people will respond to that. And they'll chip in. Maybe it's a little bit of money. Maybe it's $100 here and $50 there. And maybe it's a lot of money. Maybe it's a $20,000 check or a $100,000 check. Maybe there's someone out there who really believes in what you're saying. But first you got to shop it around. You have to have something to shop around. And the script is the best way to start. Yes, so this is true for any business, but it's especially true for film, that you really want to get your friends and family, your neighbors, your community, people in church. Those are all your first circle, classmates, co-workers. That's your first circle, and then your neighbors and classmates, co-workers are like a secondary circle. But your immediate vicinity, your Facebook friends, and then outward into Facebook groups that are of interest to you. That's a really good way to find a screenwriter who's hungry and has a script ready to go. They might have delusions of grandeur about what they're worth as a first-time unsigned screenwriter, and it's up to you whether or not you want to work with someone like that. I've met a few really cool people who are super competent, and if I had $10,000-$20,000, I would totally send them a check and be like, please write this script. Here's the criteria. I'd rather have them write it than have myself write it, because I would trust them with it. And you can find people like that, and like I found them in Facebook groups, but it could be a writer's workshop, it could be a creative writing class. There's people around. Same with acting classes, any of that stuff. Get creative. You're gonna have to be creative in every stage of the process. It's creative with financing, creative with the writing, creative with how you shoot it, creative with the acting choices. You want to be creative with scheduling. You want to be wherever there's a problem, creativity is your first line of solutions. Do not think that throwing money at it is going to solve the problem. Then you're not ready for this. You're just plain old not ready. If you think throwing money at it is going to fix it before creativity, then you're not ready for this. You got to be ready to MacGyver some shit. You got to be. If you want to throw money at it, the best thing you can do is either be a person with personal connections, know people with money, and be a sweet talker. You can also know that guy. You don't have to be that guy yourself. If you're like me and more of an introvert, you can find someone who's a little more, a bit more of a public speaker. You can have them give the presentation. You can have them talk to people they know. And that's one of the main reasons to go to film school. It's not really what they teach you, and it's not really any of that stuff. It's the connections you make. It's you keep your head down and work really hard and be friendly with everyone, and sooner or later someone's going to notice and want to be a part of it. You do good work, it's going to attract certain people. There will be investors in that space. There will be opportunities for that. I assume that there are opportunities for that in film school. My film education was, I took a different path. But the main reasons to go are for networking. For networking, to find people to work with and people to pay for your shit. That's the primary motivation for film school proper. I am a firm believer in the 2-day film school by Dov Simmons. I think he's a genius. I love him. He's so mean. It's hilarious. It's great. You gotta. He keeps it entertaining. You've worked through all the above. Maybe you can get through LinkedIn. Maybe you're good at crafting a letter. Maybe you've read Convince Investors to Fund You. Perhaps you got your skills. Everyone's got their skills. You might want to check out Dov's style. Dov has a cool style. First of all, check out 2-day film school. It is so worth it. It is worth it. Check it out. But yeah, so his idea, if you can't, you got nothing. You don't know any rich people. You don't know anyone who might know some rich people. You can't get your friends and family and neighbors, etc., to even chip in $5 each towards your dream. It's just not going. It's just not going that way. Well, so he says, in order to make this work properly, you're going to want a cinematographer who has their own reel and knows their shit. You're going to want to do your casting ahead of time. You're going to want to have your script. You're going to want to be prepared. You're going to know exactly how much money you need. He says to go through the phone book, the yellow pages. Remember yellow pages? There's still ways to do it. You just go like dentists, and you call every freaking. The way he explains it is so entertaining. You have to just see. You have to just hear it. And he's got books. He's got other stuff. It's worth it. Pick your poison and drink it. He gives you way better quality information than 4 years of film school. I've met people who go to film school and they know about half of this shit. They always seem confused, like a deer in headlights. And I every step of the way, I've tested these things out, and I'm like, wow, holy shit! Door open, window open, side passage open. It's all open. In these other ways, it's like, no, you can't do that because blah 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 blah. It has to be like this because blah 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 blah. It's like, no, it doesn't. This is your first movie. You're an idiot. No, I'm not talking about. I'm not trying to insult you. I'm sorry. Let me back up. You are only an egg. This is your first movie. You're a baby. Okay? Just take it slow and don't worry if you make mistakes. No matter how great your movie is, when you look back on it 10, 20, 30 years from now, no matter how great it is, no matter how many other people love it, no matter how much money it made you, you're going to look back on it and say, it was a piece of shit. Compared to what I could do now, that was a piece of shit. Right. So you get a dentist. You call every dentist in the phone book, and you just apply that to like Google. Every dentist, whomever you think you can, really, you can approach every business This doesn't really work with corporations. There's always going to be someone who's like, we don't do that. You don't ask permission to film in a lot of places, and get ready to spend a lot of money. Get ready to show and spend a lot of money to get your product done if you want to do it like that. You're better off kind of doing hidden camera, get in, get out, film it quick, do what you can. It's your first movie. But let's stay focused. You call all the dentists. Every dentist. He explains it really well. You gotta be pretty slick with it. You gotta be polite. You gotta be polite and not waste their time. They know you're calling to ask for money, so you gotta make it fun and exciting for them to do it. Expect it to take a long time. You might have to do flyers. Just do every dentist office in your area. Just leave a flyer. You host an event. You have your cinematographer. They have a reel. You have actors. Even if you don't have a script, you can have actors doing improv if they're good enough, and if you directed them well enough, and if you rehearse. It's a big part of this. You're going to make your pitch. You have to be ready to ask for, like, this is going to cost you $10,000. This is going to, if you want a piece of this, it's going to cost you $20,000, $50,000. Pick a number. You know, okay, let's back it up. Your first movie should probably cost $100,000 or less. If you're smart, you can do this movie for $300, like my friend Dylan Mars Greenberg. Check her out. She's amazing. Amazing. Now, $300, part of that has to do with you already have access to equipment. It doesn't, on a certain level, you're not counting costs of equipment. Because you bought the equipment, and then you use the equipment, and then you use the equipment, and then you use the equipment. The first time you use the equipment, you can count it. The next time you use the equipment, you don't have to count it. If you borrow someone's camera for free, they're just like, yeah, sure, you can borrow it for a week or two, I don't care. Then you don't have to pay for it. There's all these things. It's getting equipment. Now, you can rent it. Renting is kind of okay. I think we should all be our own film production studio. We should all be our own little Robert Rodriguez's. Who, by the way, like, his parents got him a camera, and he was basically like, you, brother, you're the criminal. You, sister, you're the damsel in distress. And action. I mean, he basically just he had a big old family, so it made it easier to get people involved. He had a good relationship with his family. Mi familia. So yeah, it makes it easier. If you have a big family, work that shit. That's your connection. That's what you got. Practice. You get to that room. You have your people. You trust your people. Your cinematographer shows a very beautiful reel. One that stood out to me is the director of London, 2006, with Jason Statham and Jessica Biel. I liked it a lot. A lot of people didn't like that movie, but I thought it was fascinating, and it wasn't so much the dialogue or, like, the story or whatever, but it was the cinematography specifically that got me. I was like, I just kept staring at it. They're just like, he was doing some really fascinating stuff in that bathroom scene where he was working the symmetry. Some of the background things weren't in every shot, and it shows and it matters, and it's really cool. So you get your cinematographer has a reel. Your actors probably have reels. It's a sizzle reel. You get the sizzle because you don't have a whole lot of steak, and you have to cut a piece for everyone in that room. All right, and speaking of that, these are now your shareholders. You need $100,000 for your movie. You want 20 people to put $5,000 each because that just makes it easier for you. I don't know. Whatever. You pick a number. You know how many people you get. You're going to need 10 times that number of people in that room if you want to even try to hit that target. And you better sell the fuck. This is a business. You got to sell the fuck out of this shit. You believe in this movie, right? Right? You believe in this project? This isn't just like, oh, we're just doing this because it's our first movie and we have to do something. We have to start somewhere. I know I'm telling it to you like this, but that's how it really has to be. You really have to sell the fuck out of it, and you have to fucking believe it, and you have to be ready to sleep 3-4 hours a night because you're too fucking busy. You just have too much shit to do to sleep. You're probably not going to hang out with your family very much, and it's going to put some strain on everything. Then that's how getting started feels. It's a struggle, and if you're not ready for that struggle, then you don't do it. Then don't do it. Fuck off. There's too much competition as it is, and I don't need you here. Okay? If you don't think you can get the money, if you don't think you can do it without $1 million budget, then I'll do it for $35,000 and I'll beat you there. I'll figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out right now. This podcast could be the way I do it. You know, it's a matter of trying things out, and it's a matter of time. I'm way off track. So you're renting out. That's why I was off track, because I forgot a part. You're renting out a theater for this. It's been a while since I checked, but it's cheaper than you think. It's like $300 or $500 or $1,000. I don't know. It's cheaper than you think. It's not thousands and thousands of dollars. They're a movie theater. If you rent out one auditorium for one day, the projectionist will help you. You figure it out. You get your reel together. You get your actors together. You get all these people in a room on a specific day and time. In the Coen brother method, that's not what you're doing. You're just going door to door, showing a little clip. In the friends and family method, they know you, they like you, they believe in your idea. You don't have to do much besides say, it depends on each person, so you have to say what you got to say, hey, I really think this will be fun, let's do this. And then, yeah, same. It depends on how well people know and like you. When you're in this room, this is for the dentists. This is for people who have a whole lot of money and don't do a whole lot of stuff with their life and have always wanted to do something film related, but maybe they haven't tried yet. One of the more important things about this is that if they like you this time, there's a fair to middling chance they might like you next time. There's a pretty good chance they're going to try to be like, well, it's my money, I think this movie should be filmed my way. And you gotta be firm. You gotta be like, well, it's not your movie, you're just helping me pay for it. You're a 1/20th share of things, and that wouldn't be fair to the other 20 people. Right. Now, these are the people you're going to pay back first. Your movie doesn't make money until after these people have been paid. Alright? One person you should really check out is Jay Horton. I am constantly and consistently inspired by Jay Horton. He'll definitely help. He'll lead your way if you have any questions from this. He's one of the people who's done it. He does it for real cheap, for real cheap. And he knows how to do that. You have your dentist in the room. You have 400 dentists in the room so that you can get 20 dentists to pay for your shit. For this movie that you're super passionate about, and you spent God knows how long writing your screenplay, and you have your cinematographer and their sizzle reel, and your actors know a dramatic scene well enough to do it live, and you get up on stage, you get up there, and you give a quick spiel. You do like 1-2 minute spiel. You say, "Hi, I'm Cletus, and I want to make a movie. Thank you all for coming here today. I want to make a movie, and this is my movie." I don't have a speech written right now, so I'm just demonstrating. You just do a little thing. Just, who are you? Who are these people? Why are these people here? Thank you for being here. And go. Dramatic music. Get it into it. Get it. Showmanship. Jazz hands. The whole 9 yards. As lay it on thick. Give them a spectacle. A spectacle. A circus performance of one scene of your movie. Whatever other stuff you can pad it with as far as that, but don't waste their time. You want to keep this to an hour total, so you do your presentation in 15 to 30 minutes and then give the rest of the time to Q&A. And you want to keep your questions short, your answers short, and you don't want to get people angry or confused, so you have to be very careful. One book that I found very helpful lately is author is Julian Treasure, and it's called How to Be Heard. How to Be Heard. He also did TED Talks. He does not go through a single chapter without letting you know how he's into TED Talks. So just a heads up, that's a little frustrating by the end of the book, but it's really high quality information, and I should have taken notes while I was listening to it, so I'm going to have to read it again and take notes. But that would be a good book to read. Convince Investors to Fund You was helpful to a point. Emotional intelligence in general is a good thing to have. One of my favorite resources, and you can just spend $5 a month to get Troma. It's Troma. Right? It's Troma now. Troma featuring Lloyd Kaufman, Make Your Own Damn Movie, and it's a whole series. And so you get the Troma now because you have access to all these low budget movies. You can see how they did it, and you can watch the making of videos where they explain how they do it. And it's a wealth of information. There is a scene in there where he's in like a hotel room, and he's just got his usual people. He's like, we're short on money and we need a little more money, and here's how it's coming along. We need money for this new song that we wrote, and here's the song. And they're like, well, that's very entertaining. Some people have concerns, and they show that in the things like, how are we going to get our money back? And he's like, well, that's a very good question. Yeah, you work the crowd. You do. This is part of your job as a filmmaker. Is engaging with the audience both on camera, like through the film itself, and whilst selling it to the actors, to the crew. Every day of the process, you are selling the film and the fact that you believe it, and you have to really believe it. All right, so again, with 2-day film school, you're better off watching the whole thing for the budgeting and the, like, I don't want to step on dude's toes. I'm just giving you a little bit of a paraphrase because, well, this is like 2-hour film school. This is like 2-hour film school for the time-hungry individual. And also, I have information that's separate. I've gotten information from more than one source, so that helps things. So when it comes to budgeting, you want to keep your cast and crew small. And in my opinion, it's helpful to have people who are both. It's someone who can be an actor and then do something else. One problem with that is that you sometimes need the same person on both sides of the camera at the same time, and it just won't work that way. But part of that is that, like sound. If they're the sound guy, then they can be in the in the scene and have everything kind of like all the microphones set up, and then step away from it, and then so whoever is behind the camera for that shot could be the one who presses play, and you better hope they know what they're doing. When it comes to sound, a lot of people are against ADR. I'm a supporter. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of being able to hear what the fuck people are saying. I'm a big fan of understanding what's going on in the scene because you can hear it clearly and everything. You don't have music roaring over in the background so loud that the dialogue that you didn't record properly to begin with doesn't shine through. When it comes to eliminating background sounds, one thing I like to do in Reaper, it's called subtraction. You go into Reaper, I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but it'll be up on the screen. It's called subtraction. There will be an automatic wavelength, so it'll show you how loud the actual thing is. Then you click it out. Then you can do like in a live performance. If there's a bunch of applause, now there's only so much you can do before you start erasing the sound itself. But you can carve out sort of a frequency that's below the music, so that it's not the roar of people clapping and cheering isn't overwhelming the sound of the musical performance. So that's subtraction. Right? If there's a crowd of people in the background, but you're trying to film a dialogue scene in a restaurant, subtraction. That's something that you can do in post. You want to get the best sound quality possible, so you want to have directional mics. You want to point them. You need to be super careful not to actually physically touch a lavalier. You need to wire them so that people can't see stuff. You need to know how to hide your mics cleverly. There's, again, creativity, and it depends on what you're doing in the scene. But the whole under the shirt thing, and when you're dealing with that, it's better to have them do it themselves. And if they don't feel comfortable with that, say, is it okay if I reach under your shirt? Do not, under any circumstances, reach under someone's shirt, A, without asking, and B, without their consent. Great. Okay. So you have your script, you finance your movie. When it comes to casting, you really want to ask questions to see if you want to test them. You want to test your casting people. You can find people in places such as junior colleges, acting classes, improv groups, theater groups. Just be involved in your local area. Be a member of your community and be helpful. Be a helpful member of your community. Rise up to any challenge. Be like, I can do that. Don't worry about paychecks for this stuff. Do it for fun, and the money will come. So, he said, broke his fuck, and telling himself that for 15 years or longer. Do it for fun and the money will come. It's real though. It's not. It's real. It's real. It's real, I swear. I've seen it. I haven't been as dedicated. I procrastinate. I'm addicted to marijuanas. I have my issue. I have all kinds of psychological issues. I'm autistic and antisocial introvert, and So it's harder for me than it will be for a lot of people. Most filmmakers are hypersocial people to begin with. And you gotta be creative every step of the way. When you're casting your people. It's you just put out some bulletins. You put out. There's places where people are expected. There's actual dedicated magazines for this kind of stuff. Trade magazines. You need to be up on that stuff. I'm not currently up on that stuff, so I'm sorry. I'm not even going to say it in this video because I just don't know. But there's trade publications that go back a long time. Those are where people are. Okay, so you go where people are and you advertise your stuff, and people will respond. I promise. I promise you they will respond. Quite desperately. There are a lot of hungry actors out there, and that's another thing, is whether or not you can pay people for your first movie is between you and your actors. You should pay people. You should consider the no budget scale of SAG. I forget what it is off the top of my head, but it's pretty low. It's reasonable. If you can't do that, you plan on spending like $1,000 on food. My worst, like, I filmed for 2 days. They weren't paid shit. We did a pizza party at the end. They don't want to work with me anymore. And I didn't do a good job on that movie, and now it's deleted forever. And we can't go back and fix these things. So learn from my mistake. Back up your files independently of your business partners, number one. Maintain good relationships with your people. Get better pizza than Little Caesars. Have a better vision than I had. Back it up. You pay for it however you pay for it. You have the money in your pocket. You have your people. Now you're in pre-production. You need to plan your shots very carefully. This is a good time for meditation followed by writing. Meditation followed by writing. First you have to just envision a scene. And then you're like, well, I want to do a Dutch angle here, and a medium shot, and a wide shot, and a close-up, and whatever it is. Oh, and a close-up. There we go. Whatever it is, you do it however you do it. And you plan your shots. And sometimes you're talking about frames, so like 1/24th of a second. Sometimes you're talking about seconds, between 1 and 5 seconds we're holding a shot. Sometimes you're talking about an uninterrupted scene of dialogue for minutes. In a nature documentary, you might get hours of footage just so you can watch all of it and then find like 5 minutes where something happens that's you want to put in the movie. So takes take however long they take. Yeah, fun stuff. I lost my train of thought. Let's go back to the financing, because I don't feel like I finished that. You have your investors. You have your $100,000 movie. By the time you know that, you have to know how much you're willing to spend on effects. This might not include marketing, but should probably include marketing, in which case your $100,000 movie is now a $50,000 movie with marketing. Because you're going to spend this is like the Hollywood way. Usually it's times 10. Whatever they say the box office, the budget is, like if they say it's a $250 million movie, it depends on the VFX, it depends on a lot of stuff, but a lot of that budget had to do with marketing. Sometimes a $250 million movie was $225 million worth of marketing and $25 million for the movie itself. And out of that $25 million, it's some big name actor who got $1 million+ paycheck to be the big name actor. You'd also be, if you're watching those credits carefully, you'll see a whole bunch of VFX people who are sometimes making minimum wage, or worse. Sometimes they're like, hey, can you work an extra 6 hours overtime unpaid? The job's got to get done. They give them a salary, and then they work them for 18, 20-hour days. And like, fuck you if you need sleep. fuck you if you're hungry. You better eat at your desk. You better start typing. It's like that. So budgets suck. You have your $100,000. If you're lucky, you have $300 if you're not. Right? Your marketing is marketing. It's the same deal. When you're doing stuff like TikTok, you gotta have making of clips for days, and Snapchat and quick videos. You want 10 seconds of, oh my god, what the fuck is that? Oh my god, that's so weird. Oh my god, that's so cool. Oh my god, that must have been so frustrating. Or, oh my god, I can't believe they did that. It's usually some version of, wow. Or, ooh. Or, ha 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 ha. Who am I to judge why you're choosing this video? But really, the reaction is about the time that you spent. The time that I demonstrated those reactions is about the time of the video itself. That's it. That's your whole video. You keep it short and sweet. And you put it anywhere videos, any social media thing that does video, and it's mostly all of them, you get your videos ready. You get your cast and crew talking about their experiences, but being coy, not giving everything away, but maybe talking about how they feel that day. Oh my god, work was so stressful today. I'm really excited for this. Hashtag the name of your movie, right? Ideally, I'm speaking to a social media crowd, and someone who's hearing me is like really good at the social media stuff. I'm not, but I'm trying to lay some knowledge on you as best as I can. You're gonna want to promote your movie as soon as your script is written. You're gonna want to get social media hype before you get the investors in the room. Will do a lot for your post marketing everything. Some of that can be word of mouth. Marketing can be word of mouth, right? The Room wasn't a big hit right away, but it made its money back eventually because most people couldn't believe this dude made this movie. And how did he finance that? He says selling leather jackets, and then I haven't read his biography yet, but it came out in like 2015, so 10 years ago. Roundabouts. It seems fascinating, and I'm excited to read it. But independently financed, you run a business, it's a vanity project, you do what you gotta do. And then so people thought it was hilarious. The Room, it's hilarious. I've seen that a lot. I've had it on repeat a couple times, just to be like, what the fuck? And yeah, I mean, you do some midnight showings. That's later. I'm getting to that. But you can make your money back in a bunch of different ways, and it's all good. Marketing in a whole bunch of different ways, and you want to start early. You want to start early. When you sell this, they don't want to see the poster, but the poster will work for social media. When you're selling to the dentist, you don't want a poster. When you're pitching to the studios, they don't want to hear a poster. They want to hear the heart and soul of your story. They want to be moved emotionally by what you're saying, and they've seen and heard everything. So you better have something good for them, and you better know how to describe it. I'd say practice that in the mirror as much as possible. Marketing all the time. You have your budget. You have your budget. You might want to consider setting aside a chunk for however much. Okay, first of all, you You set aside a chunk for effects. You decide that's the effects budget. You set aside stuff like locations or permits or what have you, and for food and what have you. Let's say it's 26,000 for all of that stuff. You have the remaining 24,000, and you have 12 people that you've gotten together to make a movie. When you wrote your script, I should have said this earlier. When you wrote your script, it's one room and 3 people. Okay, the protagonist, the love interest, and the villain. It's not always like that, but it's like that. It could be your mom and your dad and you growing up. It could be you and your best friend and your girlfriend and a love triangle. In Following, it was a guy was following a woman. I guess the guy was just following anyone, and then another guy started blackmailing him. So you get your story, you make it good, and you want to keep it small. This is your first movie. When you have your crew, that's all you have all that in mind. And so you have your handful of people. You do your crew is doubling up on stuff. They know 2 things. Your front of people can play 2 roles. Your behind the camera people can do 2 parts. You, ideally, as the filmmaker, know how to do a lot of shit. A lot of shit. You gotta get your skills up, bro. Get your skills up. Be creative. Just practice. Rehearse. This is all about repetition. It's all about repetition. It's all about repetition. It's all about repetition. You're in pre-production mode. You need a storyboard. You need to make sure that everything you're gonna have in the final frame, in the final film, is in that storyboard. If you can't physically draw it, or if it's just not quite there, you can write it off on the side. This is the best way to know how much money you're gonna need before you ask for investors for the big bucks. This is one of the most important things you need to know. Alright? Cool. One of the primary lessons I got from One of the primary lessons that I got from Roger Corman's book, How I Made 100 Movies in Hollywood and Never Lost a Dime. How is he kept the budget short. He kept the movies fun. That's how. He kept the budget short. He cut corners everywhere. He made the movie fun. He had the most fun idea that he could think of, and he pursued it with as much fun as he could. He made full use of sets. If he could do a second movie with one set, he would be like, hey, writer guy, hey, Chuck. And it was a guy named Charles. Hey, Chuck, write a script for me. Right, you got 2 weeks. Go. It's like we're on track to finish ahead of schedule, and I want to keep that pace. So we're gonna move a little faster. And if you have a script ready by the time we're done, we're gonna use the same set for something else. And then they famously burned one of the sets down and used that footage for the thing. And though he would use a set twice. There's no shame in that. Work it. Use your resources, recycle, reduce, reuse, recycle. Keep your budget down. Get people involved who are willing to work for free or for cheap. Get people. Always feed them, no matter what. By the end of every day, people are gonna be cranky as fuck. Okay, so you gotta make damn sure You should pay them. You should pay them. People don't sometimes, and I get it's your first movie. You're trying to make a movie for $5,000, which wasn't really realistic, but it's all you got. If you think you can do it, the one thing I can tell you is you have to feed your crew. You better have some snacks available kind of all day, like some snacks you can leave out for people to eat. You have to have a nice solid lunch break. You want to make sure that the food that's available is light enough that people don't feel heavy when they come back to set. They don't feel like taking a nap. These are all things that you need to be prepared for during pre-production. You need to be ready for them. Your script and your storyboard are part of pre-production. Getting investors and marketing are part of pre-production. Building sets. Now, green screen is a specific pigment. You go to the hardware store and you get that pigment. You're like, I want this pigment. You're going to need a couple buckets. It's going to cost you a couple $100 to paint a whole room green like that. It doesn't have to be a broom. It could be plywood. You build plywood on some stands. Make sure it's braced properly. You want to have a nice long, forget the exact ratio, but it's something to do with the Pythagorean triangle. And you're gonna brace it. You do what you got to do. You paint it green. Now you have a green screen. It's yes, like that. It's not complicated. It's green. It's a screen. It's a wall of green. You can get it from a store in sheets. You can get green, like literally like blanket, like fabric sheets. You can get paper rolls. They have pre-made green screen stuff, and you can just go to the store and get some green paint and paint it. You have to be careful about reflectivity. Right? I think you need matte, but I'll look it up and I'll correct myself if I'm wrong. By the time I'm in the editing process, it'll be up on the screen. You want paint. You want paint that gets even lighting on all sides and is not distracting. So I'm pretty sure it's matte, because matte will hit flat. Like you want flat. You want it to not reflect off the background because it'll be distracting. And maybe you do, and then you could do a little eggshell to brace it. And if you need that reflectivity, I don't think so, because you want even lighting is the key here. We'll get to that in a second, speaking of key, but you want the green to not reflect here and be shadowy here. And that's why I'm recommending matte. M-A-T-T. But if I'm wrong, I'll put it up on the screen. Lighting. Key backfill. That's all you need. You need some key backfill. That's Dov Simmons. That's my Dov Simmons impression. Mr. Simmons, I'm so sorry. Key backfill. Key lighting to get your eyes. See my eyes? See how you can see light in my eyes? You can even see the reflection of the phone in my eye. See that? Cool, huh? Right? That's all that is just the big light. Just the overhead light in my living room right now. Fill lighting, open windows, sunlight when you're outside, that's fill light. You can use a flashlight for key lighting. Key lighting is great for setting moods. For chiaroscuro, you're basically only having key light, no backlight. You notice I have the light back there. Backlight, key light, fill light, right? I don't really worry about fill light, except I use my laptop for that and for key lighting. This is basic stuff. People act like you need thousands of dollars worth of lights. No, you need to check your ISO, and you need to get good with. You need to either hire a good cinematographer, or you need to work hard to understand cinematography. You need to check your ISO. You can do this. Key backfill, okay? They want to see the color in your eyes, right? Check it out. Okay, check it out. That's not as cool, right? Check it out. You don't want to deal with that, right? Okay. You want to learn about lighting? One of the best ways to learn about lighting, two things. First thing is to watch Lemon. It's a short film called Lemon by Hollis Frampton. Lemon. Okay. Now, the second thing that you should probably do is then make your own lemon, but with a crock pot, with any black appliance. Do it again, but with a different shade. You're gonna want to make sure that you can film any shade of skin tone. Lemon is a yellow skin tone. You're only gonna get one lesson from lemon. Try crock pot. Film that yourself. All he does is he takes a camera and he goes on every side of a lemon. Or not a camera. Well, he has the camera still. The lemon is still, and he moves the light like this. Oh, sorry for my armpits. But yeah, he moves the light all the way around the lemon. And you watch that, you'll know how lighting works. It's fascinating. And you just watch that over and over again. And key backfill and creativity. Getting your equipment together is a big part of pre-production. Any kind of camera will work. I'm filming this right here on my phone right now. So ideally you want a higher quality camera. If you want a red, you might want to try some Blackmagic. They also have DaVinci Resolve, and you can make a whole movie with their free version. I do all my episodes so far have been on the free version of DaVinci Resolve. But yeah, so getting all your equipment together. You want good sound equipment is really important. Do not rely on your phone's microphone. Do not rely on the built-in microphone on your camera. Get a good microphone. Get a sound guy if you can. There's some who, again, everyone's hungry, everyone's willing to work, so you'll find someone if you look hard enough, you might find someone who's willing to work for a couple $100. But you really want to pay people as best as you can, and you have to feed everybody. So you might have to do the sound yourself. Again, directional microphones, built-in microphones, the lavaliers. If you're in the Bay Area, there's Berkeley Community Media. You can check out their website, betv.org. It's up on the screen now. But yeah, so you do how you do, and there's places like that around, more likely in populated areas than non-populated areas. You could be that person for your community. If you look around your community and say there's no film institution here, you can be that person. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to do it. It's going to take a lot of research. It's beyond the scope of this video to describe that job to you. But if you look around your community and say, hey, this is a niche that needs to be filled. Alright, so you're gathering equipment. A phone is okay for a camera. Audio equipment, you probably want a Tascam or a Sennheiser. there's a bunch of cool options. I'm not really worried about a mixing board personally, but a professional sound person probably would be. I've recorded hundreds of songs, and I usually mix them in post. That's the sound engineer, sound design thing. Most people would say, you get in what you put out. So you put out what you get in. So you have to get all of your. You have to get the best quality of everything as you can. You have to get the best sound and the best light that you can in, so that you don't have to fix it in post, because realistically you're not going to fix a whole lot of shit in post. I'm trying to give you the tips I know so that you're prepared, because there's always something that you're going to have to be like, oh fuck, we can't do that again, we can't film that shot again, but this is not right and we have to do something about it. ADR is one of the things, subtraction is one of the things. Sound mixing and sound mastering is a separate step. It's during the editing process. You want the inputs to be as clean as possible. You want not a whole lot of like airplanes overhead, not a whole lot of background conversations from not involved in the movie. You want to keep all the traffic noises, all the sirens, all the beeping to a minimum. In an ideal world, you do stuff like that. You get directional microphones. It basically picks up if I'm talking, it's picking up this, but it's not picking up all this, because it's directional. And it's it's going to pick up what's closer versus what's further away. A boom microphone is super helpful whenever possible. It's frustrating to be the guy who holds the boom microphone. Ask me how I know. I've had to do it a few times. I've held a boom for a whole day, and it's a chore. But it's worth it, and it's the same thing. You take you directional microphone, point it down right over the action. You can get it in frame like this. You don't want to get it in frame like this. You have to you get it to where you can see it here, and then you raise it slightly above that. Right, and then you got to be super careful and point it. They have a thing wrapped around them. In the industry, that's called a dead cat. You can position lights with C-stands. I talked about natural lighting. Realistically, for your first movie, you're going to want to work the lights. You're going to want to know how to work the windows and the light switches more than getting special lights. But they help too, and you can express yourself really well with gels. Some of that can be color corrected in post through editing. And it's up to you how you want to work on your effects. All of that planning is part of it. It's part of pre-production. It's super important. You want to be able to be as prepared as possible so that when film time happens, everything goes smoothly. You don't have time for a lot of takes. The cool thing with digital, because back in the day, you had to do it with film. And every time you did film, you had only so much film per reel. It took about 11 minutes and you ran out of film. There's a lot of great stuff that's going on now that we're on more on SD cards. But you still want to limit the takes. It's time. Time is money. Time is money. So you want to limit your takes. You want to do 3 takes, 1 take, 5 takes. There's perfect and there's good enough. Perfect is too expensive for you right now. You're not Sam Raimi. You're not Stanley Kubrick. Even if you're better than them, even if, not just that you think it, even if you've proven it to other people that you're better than them, you're still not them. This is your movie number 1. This is how you're proving it to them. If you did that already, you probably don't need this video. You did it already. But you want to prove to them that you can do it right, so you're prepared as possible, so that when you do those 3 takes, everyone's ready to go. One of the cool ways that they talk about in 2-day film school, and I think that's a good way to go, is you spend all week rehearsing. You get your people for 3 weeks or whatever, and you have week 1, they're just doing table reads, and that's a good time to record your ADR. They're doing table reads. Just get some audio, get your boom mic in the room. You have all these microphones anyways, presumably. Put them in the room. Get your table reads. Have them rehearse on a stage, or in a public park or wherever. Have them rehearse in settings that are have distractions, and they have to focus and practice. Run the paces. Rehearsal. So that then Saturday and Sunday, nonstop, you just get all that footage, just everything you need. Film, it depends on the movie. It's helpful to film scenes out of order. It's helpful during pre-production when you're doing your scheduling to know that at this point in the movie, their shirt's going to be all bloody and torn up. So we don't want to tear the shirt because we don't want to have to buy 2 shirts, right? We don't want to waste fake blood, so we're going to do all the clean scenes first, and then all the torn and bloody scenes second. We're going to do all the night scenes right now because it's nighttime, and this is our chance. Or we can only do the daytime scenes during the daytime, so we're losing daylight. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard that before. That's what it's about. You only have so much time to do whatever you're doing. And so you plan, that's all part of pre-production. You get your people together and you're filming. Depth is super important. Film depth, when you can see there's like a depth frame, and there's a sense of depth to the frame. It helps. That has to do partly with how you organize people and how you organize the furniture and the set. In my case, just filming this at one end of a long thing, and then I can just scoot back. And it gives you a sense of depth. It gives you a sense of a 3D thing in a 2D plane. Camera work is complicated. If people talk about 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions, it's like at least 5 dimensions. There's the 4th wall. God damn, there's just so much disruptions. There's the 4th wall. Okay, there's the flat. This is a photograph. It's the 2-dimensional space, period. Anything else is just an illusion. Number 2, there's 3-dimensional space. There's the fact that we are filming 3-dimensional objects. So you can turn aside, get a look at the schnoz here, right? Get a look at this is fast and bulbous on my head. 3-dimensional objects. You're filming 3-dimensional space. There's then breaking the 4th wall, where I'm talking to you, the audience, directly, right? Things are moving around in time, and you are coordinating. Birdman is probably the best example of that ever, but there's a lot of them. Coordinating is important. Another one that's exactly as good as Birdman, and well, now I can't say that because I just said the other one's better. I really liked Enter the Void by Gaspar Noé. It's a great movie, and every bit as much coordination as Birdman. It's important. And again, pre-production.
You're choreographing a dance between the camera and the actors and the audience and the set. And these are all dimensions. The movement dimension. There's an emotional dimension. You have to convey emotion with the camera. But let's stick to the thing here. You're also filming at angles. For not to dip into the emotional and metaphysical, let's just physical. Physically, you're three-dimensional subjects on a two-dimensional surface. You're dealing with time, and because you're dealing with time, you're dealing with coordination of being here and then being over here, and you have to coordinating physical space over the distance that is minute 1 to minute 5. So it's still there. There's breaking the fourth wall, which is its own thing. When you're filming at like Dutch angles, when you're filming in peculiar ways, you are hitting on diagonal spaces. There's at least 8 of those, but I don't know. It's three-dimensional space, so you're navigating a sphere. A sphere. The camera can just go. You can turn the camera all the way upside down, all the way around. You can whip over there and whip over there. You know, there's all these ways to communicate emotion, and it's all about camera movement, which is not moving in strictly three-dimensional space. You as a human being, living in your human being world, are existing in three-dimensional space. It's hard to picture this, but what the camera is doing and how that three-dimensional world can interact with that camera leaves you lots of rooms for inner and outer space. Okay? You can film under the bed, above the bed, and next to the bed at the same time. Right? And then you're filming all that space, that floor space. So you could have mischievous, evil creature like demon child under the bed. You can have healthy, normal child above the bed. You can have parent terrified over here and scary clown about to attack everyone in the corner. And that's 4 things. You're dealing with space. You're dealing with space, and it's hard to describe. That's why I'm struggling with this. But as a director, you're dealing with more space than you know than is physically there, and then you're going to portray that onto less space than you normally have in your in life. That's a lot. That's a lot. It's a big responsibility. Your main job is to talk to your actors and work with them to get the emotion. That's a big job. Your other main job is the mise en scène. You got to get your whole frame framed up. You put the object here and over here and not here or there. You put it here and here and not there and there because it makes sense there. And sometimes you don't know what that is, and sometimes you're using what's called the rule of 3s. Everything it's really a grid of 9, if you're being particular. It's a grid of 9. That's good. Okay. Anyways, sorry, panicked about battery life. Always keep spare batteries for everything all the time, and always keep them charged all the time. That should be, pre-production notes. You need spare batteries. Do you need spare batteries? Yes, you do. You need the spare batteries. Do you need spare batteries? Yes. Get those spare batteries. Spend extra money on batteries. Spend extra money on spare batteries. Always keep them charged. Always have a backup charger. Have a portable charger. Have ways of generating electricity that don't make a whole lot of noise, but do whatever you can. Always have backup batteries for all of your equipment every fucking time. Always keep backup batteries every fucking time. Am I clear? Good. I forgot what I was saying. Rule of threes. You have a grid. It's technically a grid of 9. At any given time, you're really worried about top, middle, bottom third, or left, right, and center third. I didn't do that right, but you know what you hear me. You hear my words, hopefully. And if you don't, I apologize. And I hope that somebody signs it for you. I have to pay extra for the subtitles in DaVinci Resolve. It's $299. I'll get there eventually. When you see subtitles on the bottom, that'll be one of the clues that I sprung for the deluxe version. For now, the free version's gotta be what I gotta use. I love it though. I tell you, I'm a satisfied customer so far when it comes to DaVinci Resolve. I'm very impressed with them. I'm as impressed with DaVinci Resolve as I was disappointed in Adobe Premiere. I think that the Adobe Creative Suite is an absolute trash waste of money that is not worth anyone's time or effort. And DaVinci Resolve you can get for free. So why would you spend another dime on Adobe? I don't know what's wrong with you. You have your thirds. You have your thirds. And if you put stuff on the points, then it'll draw the eye in certain ways. And a lot of your job is drawing the eye to what is important. Whether that's in close-up, whether that's in a medium shot, you're really trying to get dialogue. There's the over the shoulder, right? So there's a full shot. Full shot, I'd be back here. You can see, right? Full shot. You get what I'm saying. You have to do, you use these things in combination, and there's an established vocabulary for all of it. It would just, again, beyond the scope of this video to just go off on all this vocabulary, and it is well documented on sites such as Studio Binder is one of my favorites. No Film School. There's a lot of really good ones. I'll try to give everyone some love as best as I can, because they've helped me out. I've received a lot of help through these free services, and they're available for everyone, or cheap. In the case of 2-day film school, it's only a few $100s is a lot for me. So I imagine it could be a lot for some of my listeners. If you do this, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth whatever. $400 or $500. I'm not sure exactly how much it is right now, but 2-day film school is worth it. If you want to skip that, there's a lot of great free resources all up on YouTube, and if you got to this video, chances are you're familiar with them already. So yeah, shout out to Studio Binder, shout out to No Film School, shout out to Indie Film Hustle. Your job as the director is to show the audience the emotional and intellectually necessary bits of information to express that main idea that we discussed about in the writing portion of this. You are going to get to the heart of what the script is about, and you are going to show that with everything you got, with your choices of color. There's a really, oh my god, talk about amazing books. If it's purple, someone's gonna die is such a good book. Go check that shit out. That is a fucking great book. It is so perfect. It is such a perfect book. It is exactly what you need as a filmmaker. You can also check out Goethe. You can check out Theory of Color. There's Studio Binder has one that's possibly just a summary of Goethe. I haven't read it yet. Put it on my to-do list like a year ago, and I still haven't done it. So that shows you where I'm at with life. And sorry, y'all. Check out some Goethe. Check out. It's spelled Goethe. Goethe. But apparently, because I've been corrected a few times, it's pronounced Goethe. But if it's purple, someone's gonna die is my favorite. That's my favorite one. Just the title alone just tickles me. And they get into it. Like, it's not just about death. It's about mysticism and the supernatural, and even just change. They use a really good example in Rushmore, when Wes Anderson's Rushmore, when he realizes that he's a spoiler alert. When he realizes that his crush is not going to happen, the room is purple. The room he's in is painted purple. Just so happens. Just what a coincidence. There's a sudden change. It's the death of his infatuation with this person. So your use of color, your use of sound, your use of choreographing actors, your use of lighting. Chiaroscuro is basically just straight up key lighting with no back and fill, and you're making it all mysterious. You're using the light to guide. It's all about guiding information. It's all about, you're showing a close-up of someone's eye, and maybe that's because you want the audience to look, telling the audience, pay attention to this next part. Maybe you're saying, look how stressed out, look, the eye is twitching. You get a close-up of the eye because they're just twitching right now. There's a vocabulary, and what message you're sending will be based on the context, the order that you present the information, and the manner, just the way in which you present the information. Those are all personal choices that are up to you. I'm just telling you what I know. You want to emote, you want to express yourself magnificently, and sometimes that can be very subdued, but it's all part of a process. You want to get as much of the story in as you can. You want to know what scenes you're going to cut because you can't afford them, and you want to make sure you have enough money for the scenes that make the movie the movie. There's a really great movie. There's a horrible movie that I love with all my heart. I don't know, I can't say it's a good movie, but I can tell you that I love it. It's called The Magic Sword, starring Basil Rathbone. And it is cheesy as fuck, and I was barely holding on by the end. And when you get to the end, they spent all that money on a big old claymation dragon of doom, and it is fantastic. It is so worth. It's worth the cheesiness is funny as fuck, because it's just things were not working well, and then you get to that dragon, and it's all that cheesiness plus a dragon, and there's a great dragon scene. Great dragon scene. Eat your heart out, Smaug and Peter Jackson. Fuck y'all. No, I love Lord of the Rings too, and Smaug definitely that was a better thing, but this is magnificent, and you have to see it to understand what I mean. It is a special. You watch The Magic Sword, and you will feel like you can make any. You will feel like you can make any movie you want. I promise. It's an inspiration. It's the room of fantasy movies, and it is magnificent. It is so good. The Magic Sword. It is so fucking good. And I lost my train of thought. Right. Whew. Video. So directing. Visual media has a specific manner of conveying information. When we're guiding the eye, there's some helpful ways of doing that, such as the rule of threes. When you're doing close-ups, you're calling attention to specific objects or specific facial expressions. It's good to have reaction shots for everything. There's something happens, people reacting. Something happens, people reacting. How, there's a really cool, I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but it's just one picture, guy, just normal, and then the next thing is something beautiful. And then people interpreted that plain face as being happy. Something horrible. Plain face now is... So they switch back and forth like that. It's really cool. So juxtaposition will help guide connections psychologically. Use of color will help guide connections psychologically. Different hand gestures. I really like Zero Mostel in the Muppet Show when he's reading. It's a good one. Go check out Zero Mostel Muppets. The way that he moves his body to where he gets even one little finger and gives animation to everything he does. It's really impressive. Dialogue is good in a medium shot about this level, belly to nipple range, waist range. You're talking about torso up is a mid shot. All right, a full shot is good for it's more for action sequences, or a long shot or an extra long shot. Those are great for establishing shots, and you're gonna need those. They're gonna say it like this. They're gonna want a master and a 2-pop. Right? That phraseology is from 2-day film school, but it's also from the industry. You want your one shot. You want a master and 2 shots. You got, I think this. Well, I think this. Right? And then you have both of them talking together, but from over here to where you can see head over here. I think this. I think this. Right? So it's your master shot and your 2-pop. And your back's to one, and then you switch it. They're talking. Right? And that's another part of the dynamics. Power dynamics. If you film, right? If you film like this, then I seem inferior. I'm shorter than you. I'm inferior to you. And if I go like this, it's kind of gross. And also, more importantly, it's a sense of power or heroism. Right? So camera angles, they express things. And you've seen movies, or else odds are good that the reason that the reason that you want to make films so bad is because you like movies so much. It's something you're passionate about as a craft. You've been so entertained by them that you want to learn the craft. That's why you're here. Everyone can make a movie. Anyone can make a movie. Whether or not that movie's good has a lot to do with creative choices. Whether or not it appeals to other people has a lot to do with emotional intelligence. You want to just understand people, and that's going to help you in this industry, and it's why I'm telling you about it instead of doing it myself, because I'm not very good at working with people, and I want to make sure that people get my information whether I'm able to do it myself or not. Because so far I could kind of do some things myself, but not everything. What was I saying? Camera angles. It's a lot of it's personal choices. A lot of it has to do with working around the room that the space that you're in, and what you want to portray. For choreographing action sequences, number one, for safety reasons, it's great to have a professional choreographer on set. more in the area than you realize. There's always someone who's like really into martial arts and they really like movies and they always wanted to be on that. They always wanted to be that guy, and if you give them the chance, they're around. I can't tell you how to find them in your area. I usually meet them in movie sets with a slightly better budget, and I'll be like, wow, we got a stunt choreographer. That's really cool. It's like, oh yeah, it was like a few $100. I'm just helping out my friend, and he'll point to someone over there. I'm like, oh wow. So it has a lot to do with networking, and I guess cold calling dojos, looking through, your trade magazines and whatnot to contact, the websites and whatnot to contact people who specialize in that, following Facebook groups. But there's going to be some people who are very interested in stunts and maybe don't do it professionally right now and would love a paycheck. They would love the experience and they love the check, and they'll do it. And it's not a big budget thing like you think. It's a safety thing. There are safety courses online that you can take, and there are safety courses in person that you can take, and you should be as up to date on all safety regulations as possible. As the producer, director, writer, you're also the gaffer. In addition to all your other duties, you need to tape the wires down so people don't trip on them. You need to be aware of electronic devices and their safety precautions and read the manuals for everything. You need to be careful with how you handle things, how you handle people, how you handle stunts. Maybe your first movie isn't the time to be doing car chases. Maybe your first movie isn't the time to be playing with fire, literally or figuratively. It's just not the time. You can do makeup. One of my favorite ways to acquire makeup is to wait until the day after Halloween, or like Halloween Eve. Like wait till the last freaking minute, wherever you're, like Spirit Halloween or Halloween City or any of those, and you just get your discount Halloween stuff. It's usually about 50% off. That's my favorite time to do it. You get their fake blood is as good or better than doing it with the Caro syrup and the flour and the red food coloring. It's about the same price. Theirs is really high quality. The Spirit Halloween one is like, wow. It's like, that's exactly what you need. It's worth it. Makeup stores, like just regular any makeup store. You can go to some hobby shops, like, I don't know, Hobby Lobby is usually the big one, but I don't personally support them. So it's up to you. Blick is a good one. I'm not super in love with their everything either, but they're better than Hobby Lobby. Michael's, I don't know if they're still in business. I'll look it up later. A good tip for making wounds seem two good tips for making wounds seem believable. Work in other colors besides red. Black is a really good one. Black will look like negative space, like things will look more open. Right? You take a little bit of black here and a little bit of red here, and it just looks more open than otherwise. Little bits of latex blended into the skin. Flaky bits of latex will help. For that, you need a little bit of grit, and one of the best things you can use for grit is flavorless gelatin. Just like super plain gelatin. And if you're environmentally conscious, maybe it's seaweed gelatin. I won't tell you how to do it. I personally, for me, the animals are going to go, and thank God they're using all the parts. As long as they're using all the parts of the animal, I'm not complaining. The factory farming is a separate episode. We'll complain about factory farming in a separate episode. But for me, for my money, gelatin is gelatin, and as long as they're using every part of the animal, then that's better than if they didn't. If your personal preferences require you to use seaweed gelatin or agar, it's about the grit. More power to you. It's going to be a good texture. So you can use yellows or greens or purples to augment the red, and use black to make it look darker and more visceral. And then the grit, the latex flaps for like skin, and the grit of something like agar or gelatin is going to really make it pop. It's going to be the big difference in your production. Heck, you could probably use quinoa. I've never tried it, but now I'm thinking about the texture of like those seeds. It's kind of the same deal. Edible is good because then you can have it running off your mouth, and then it's safe. You know, it's safe. If it's quinoa or if it's gelatin, it's safe. You know, you can feel good about that. Makeup, costumes. You're probably hitting up thrift shops. You're probably using clothes you don't care if they get dirty. You don't care if it's the last time you wear them, but it's like your regular clothes. It's nice. It's a nice treat to have a budget and be like, here's $100. Go to the Goodwill and get anything you want. Yeah, your character is, I don't know. Your character's. This movie takes place in the mid-90s, and it's you're working at a convenience store, right. And that's how you got to do it. You again, a lot of this is pre-production, but I wanted to make sure you want to make your movie as believable as you can afford to. And you want to be careful about your budget, so here's some things you can do, quick and dirty methods to make it a little better. There's some more good tips in the Make Your Own Damn Movie series. In Troma's Make Your Own Damn Movie series is really good. Very important to check out. Check out all these resources. Don't just take my word for it. Start here. You could, by this advice, get all the way or pretty far, and all these resources are here to make sure that you are safe, that you are not broke at the end of this. The goal is to maximize your chances of success, so I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you as much as I know, as quickly as I can. Music. There we go. Foley. Let's start with Foley. You want your sound design to be on point, as I mentioned before. ADR. There's nothing wrong with ADR. Don't listen to Christopher Nolan. He can afford 35mm film, and he can afford deliveries to theaters, and everyone's going to pay for him to do that. You need to worry about film number one and letting people know that you can do following if you wanted to. For film number one, you keep the budget tight. You do want to give a fuck about sound effects. It's important. You do. You want to do some Foley. You want to make sure you go on YouTube is one place. Like on nap time, a big chunk of my stuff was just stuff from YouTube. You go on there and be like sound effects, right? For this show, not this episode, but for other shows, when you hear that, I have the red-tailed hawk. I animated that frame by frame. It's pretty simple, because you work in layers. So I had the background stay the same and the layers move. For animation, you want to check out Animator Survival Kit by Richard Williams. There's also a claymation book. I'll put it up on the screen because I forget it off the top of my head, but it's really, really good. Puppets, anything like that, is probably beyond the scope of your first movie, unless that's what you want to do. Like if you're the Henry Selick's or the Jim Hensons of the world, and you really just want to express yourself through your medium, then by all means, draw. Draw it yourself. Write it yourself, draw it yourself, edit it all together. You could voice all the characters, and you don't need another person for animation. For me, it's so much work, and I just have too much ADHD for stuff like that, I guess. I need to be able to work in a group, or else I'll get off track. Or work by myself, but like in a I'm just making excuses. One of these days I'm going to do animation. Just you wait and see. Yeah. Back on track. Your Foley sound effects can be free. You go on stuff like freesound.com.org. They'll be up on the screen. YouTube, whatever sound effects you want. I had a red-tailed hawk visual, and then eagle call. The eagle. Because I wanted to. It was funny. It may not be funny to anyone else, but I thought that was hilarious. It's a non sequitur, I guess. I get tickled by non sequiturs. Juxtaposition. No, Foley. You can get all your sound effects there. You want to film people walking on the surfaces they're walking on. Get a microphone and record some audio of walking on grass, walking on gravel, walking on pavement, walking on a busy street, walking on a quiet street. Get ambient noise. It's called impulse response, IR. Okay, so record. I don't know if you've ever seen 24-Hour Party People, directed by Michael Winterbottom. It's a fun movie. I won't even say good or bad or whatever. I enjoy the shit out of it, and I watch it every so often. I come back around to it. I'm just like, so much fun. So there's a part where Martin Hannett is off in a field, and Tony's like, Martin, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm recording. Silence. Recording silence. And he points to the microphone and he's like, now I'm recording Tony fucking Wilson. It's a fun moment. And do that. Go in a room and get ambience. It's real. It matters. It'll make your movie more robust than your competitors. It's the difference between Tarantino and not Tarantino. It's the difference between Tarantino and Avery. So get that impulse response. Get your Foley. Get the wrestling. Get that rustling of clothes in your. Get all those sound effects. Get the rustling of trees. Get all those. Get the bird chirping. Film it. Record it yourself. Record it. Download those sound effects. You can use those as points of humor. Visual things and sound things are great sources for humor. Throw in. There's a fun scene from Archer where he just throws like a hot dog over his shoulder, and then you hear a woman scream like ah! It's like, and then he laughs because he's an asshole and he has a problem with people just walking down the street not having hot dogs thrown in their face. But yeah, it's those details make all the difference. This whole process so far, you've been working on. First, you had a preparation. You got all your pieces together. Your people, your locations. You got your props, your equipment. You got it all planned out. Things are going to go wrong. Watch The Men from La Mancha. Things are going to go wrong. I promise. And you need to be prepared for all of it. And mostly that involves weather protection, first aid kit. You're going to want batteries. You're going to want batteries. Spare gas can, like a 5-gallon gas can in the back of a car or two might be a big deal if you got some traveling in your film. It's helpful to do carpooling. One of my films that I wish I could share it with you. I wish I could share it with the world. It's gone. And again, back up your files separate from your business partners. It's super important to keep your own files and back up everything. Back up everything. Back up everything. Where was I? All of this preparation to do all this filming. You've done all this filming. You got all of your clips. This in the can. This is the text speak. You get your stuff in the can. It's in the can. You got your canned visual, your canned audio. Now you got to put it all together. Kubrick liked to think of it like a jigsaw puzzle. There's quite a few. The true masters of their craft have a tendency to be writer, director, editors, and then they can say it's all theirs, right? And even more so if you're a producer too, if you can pay for it yourself. And great. So for that, to that end, Kubrick, the Coen brothers, Mike Flanagan are some examples of some people who to study that do that and do it well. Gaspar Noé is amazing. Alejandro Jodorowsky is problematic in hindsight, but also amazing. Study. In the editing process, there's none more so than Sergei Eisenstein, right? Just like you studied Tarkovsky for depth, and you studied Kubrick for mise-en-scène, and you studied Bill Wilder for getting to the humanity of a story, and expressing that on camera. Now we're going to look at Eisenstein and the Odessa Steppe sequence. Just do it. Just watch Potemkin, Battleship Potemkin. Watch the Odessa Steppe sequence. Just do it. It's important. There are many books. It's kind of a common thing they have frame by frame. You can see how they did how he did it, and it is magnificent. I remember one of the Rambos remade it. It's kind of funny. It's now it's a trope, and that's another thing I forgot to mention, but it's good here because it's a trope that's going to be relevant for all of it. It's going to be a trope. Every step of the way, you're going to be aware of tropes, and whether you want to play into expectations or subvert them is your decision. This is the beauty of it. Just because it's there and it's like, oh, that's been done before, so great, use it. It's been done before. What aspect of this hasn't been done before, right? The Dick Van Dyke Show, he walks in every time, he falls on the thing every time. Well, we expect him to fall now, but how do we make that funny? You build suspense into it. You make it so like, oh, this time he's not falling. He's not falling, not falling, now he fell. We were waiting for it, and then it finally happened, and now laughter, right? You guide expectations. So if you know the tropes, that's an expectation that you can work upon, that you don't have to guess. It's there. There's like tropes, I think it's tropes.tv or tvtropes.com. I'll put it up on the screen. For your directing, for your writing, and now for editing, be aware of your tropes. Music is going to be its own thing. Generally speaking, you want a short thing. Like John Williams likes to do a lot of fourths and fifths, 1, 4, 5. That's the blues. The primary chunk of blues music is bum dun 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 dun. or doom, doom, doom. Just keep it simple. I promise that the quality of the music video, the music one will be of better quality than what I just did. I promise. I promise. It'll be kind of like the overall quality. God dang hairs. Okay. I'm not a professional actor. Oops. I'm just telling you what I know. So, the overall music quality will be something like that. Two of my favorites in this regard are John Carpenter. He's a director who does his own music, and Andrei Iskanov does his own music, which I'm really impressed with both of them. It's a thing that happens, and on the flip side, there's people like Les Claypool who wrote and directed a movie. Hey, are you going to Burning Man? There's people to study to where the line of music and movies. When you're editing, it's good to listen to a song that's either in the movie or both the lyrics and the music give you the emotional content of what you want. They tie to the theme, they tie to the music of the whole thing. So, editing begins with the storyboard and the script. By the time you have the storyboard and script done, you should know more or less how you want to edit the dang thing. That's all stuff the editor, if it's not you, the editor should have that kind of information to get sort of an idea of what you had in mind to begin with. When you do your filming, you want to leave space at the beginning and the end of everything for them. That's when they do the clapboard and they do mark, right? So that they know roll speed, roll sound. Those are all cues for the editor, just as much as anyone else. Possibly more so, but I don't want to speak on that. So I almost said that, and then I decided to say it. It's pretty dang important for the editor to know when things are supposed to start and when things are supposed to end. You want to guide the eye. The editor is trying to do that too. So I'm new to this. I have it written on the screen. Walter Murch's Rule of Six. In addition to Sergei Eisenstein, you're going to want to study Walter Murch. You're going to want to know about him and what he does. He says the most important aspect of a cut is the emotional content. You'll see some movies where you feel some sort of way, and there's a chunk of story missing where you think about it later. It's like, wait, what do you mean by that? You cut out that. It wasn't significant enough, so you cut it out because you'd rather cut that scene and make things more emotional than leave logic in there and make it slower paced, or change it so it drags in one part and it's fast paced in other parts. It's just kind of like uneven. He starts with emotion is the most important. If you have to sacrifice everything else, get the emotional content. Juxtapose, right? Remember the end of Blue Velvet with the flowers? That's some heavy juxtaposition, right? You start the movie and end the movie the same way, but the way you feel when you see it the first time and the way you feel to see at the end of the movie are two different experiences. Emotion is important. Story, over more than story, which is the next most important thing on this list. You get your story, you express it appropriately. When I do music, I like to listen. When I do editing, I like to listen to music, and that's what I was saying earlier. You want to get to the emotional heart, right? If it's a horror movie, you might want to try some doom metal, right? A lot of movies, you probably could do reggae or hip hop or funk because they're going to have a good rhythm to the music. It's going to be a rhythm that people can relate to emotionally. You can do gospel for drama or for country music or blues music. You pick your style, and it'll suit the emotional content of what you're editing. And so when you do the rhythm, that's the kind of vibe you want to get. If you action scenes, maybe it's metal, maybe it's techno, something faster pace, right? Maybe it's a street scene, and maybe you want some gangster rap in there instead of just like any rap, because there's rhythm and there's emotional content. So the type of rap would matter very much. The subgenre that you pick will matter just as much as anything else. It helps if it's a band that you're familiar with, an artist that you will love a lot. That'll help you feel it. Okay. I'm not going to tell you what to listen to. It's really about your own emotional. It's your emotional journey as you edit this project. You want the sound, and you'll see sometimes I don't do this, but I do know better, and that's the tragic thing about it, as I definitely know better. You want your sound to line up. You want eyeline to line up. There's a really cool studio binder where they show how Tarantino both makes use of and then subverts the 180 degree rule, and how he makes use of eyeline. Right, so in your eyeline, I'm looking at you, eyeline. Right, it makes sense. Your sense of place when you're in a scene should only be subverted on purpose for emotional, to cause anxiety or surprise, or create tension, for like a sense of fear, to build up tension. Those are useful reasons to subvert the rules. Dream sequences, if I was here and also behind me, that would be pretty trippy. Dream sequences would be fun, but stuff like that is when you subvert it. Otherwise, you really want to get island, and that's all it says right here is should be respected. It's the fourth thing. So by this time, we're just, if you've sacrificed these things first, and number 5 is 2-dimensional plane of screen. So what's happening here, and then the first thing that can go is anything that conveys depth of field. If you have to cut, if your action sequence is filmed in full shot and close-ups, you could probably use some of those close-ups a little more, because they'll help with rhythm and they'll help with emotion, whereas the wide shot fight screens will help with coherence and choreography, like making it believable. So you balance that out. So that's some of editing. You can do layers. Title cards are pretty easy with DaVinci Resolve. I'll just leave you, it's beyond the scope of this to just get through every nitpicky thing about every program, but you want to be in tune with editing. You want to get a good feel for the rhythm, so having music that's on point for what you want to get, the heart of what you want to get to for your theme, and the energy that you want to put into the project should be the music that you listen to just to entertain yourself while you're editing. You're probably going to need to listen, so that's one reason to not listen to music while you're editing, but I find it really helpful. I personally find it really helpful. If you find it distracting, don't do it. But I find that having one ear on just some music that I enjoy helps me stay grounded, and it helps me feel connected to the project. You want to get all your sound effects and all of your interstitials. Like when I put in all this stuff, I get all that organized into a bucket. You gotta get all your stuff organized. I really like in DaVinci Resolve you could do multiple timelines. You could do like A story and B story at the same time. So like you could do like in a TV show it's more relevant. There's A stories, B stories, and C stories and everything. In TV shows it's a trope. Usually the main characters are off on an adventure, and then some characters are like stuck. You'll see. I love when Archer does it, because Archer does it real well. But it's common in all shows. You'll see. Like in Archer, it'll be like something like Archer and Lana are off spying, and then the rest of the characters, so Pam and Krieger, Cheryl and Cyril are all in a situation trying to figure shit out. You'll see that in different scenarios. You keep characters separate from each other. You give any reason to have them away from each other so that you can say, meanwhile these characters are doing this, and meanwhile these characters are doing that, and then have ways for them to interact with different timelines at different points, and it's easier to visualize that. You just do Control N, and you can do Control D to change duration if you want. Like for animation, when you're doing frame by frame, it helps a lot. I don't know. This is a really easy stuff that you'd find pretty quickly, but I'm just telling you what I'm learning as I'm learning it. I'm new to editing, but this is what I got. You know what it wants. You know what it should look like. You have an idea of what you want it to look like, and you want to make sure that everything is in its place, and it's a puzzle that you get to decide the outcome. You don't have to follow the box. You just build the puzzle. Yeah. So you get all your sound together. You get your animated sequences together. You do your layering. For green screen stuff, this is the time when you're doing keyframing. Keyframing is the whole process, but you basically want to put yourself. You have yourself and then the green screen background, and now it's time to match that to the background. There's a lot of cool ways to do title cards and to put words like in big letters, put them like in between the foreground and the background. There's YouTube videos for that. You want to put your music in the right place. If you want my personal opinion, don't do that annoying as fuck thing where the dialogue is whisper like this, and then ba 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 ba. Like no one wants to deal with that shit, man. We all want to relax when we're watching movies. We want it even, not like there should be some dynamic range for emotional effect, but it doesn't have to be so dramatic that you can't hear what the fuck people are saying to you. That's not the way to do business. It's just not. Please. And to that end, you can use compression. It's pretty cool. Dynamic EQ is really helpful. We'll get into that with the music video, but I'm telling you what I know. If you can afford the $300 for the deluxe DaVinci Resolve, it is very much worth it for the fusion effects. The nodes, it's a lot like Blender is good too. It's like, wait, what is it again? I've used it. I made the donut during the pandemic, but yeah. So Blender is cool too. All of those have underlying things where you can get into the technical stuff and sort of tinker with the programming of the software and make things very customizable. And so for that, DaVinci Resolve's fusion feature is way cool. That's where all the color correction is going to come in. And yeah, color correction's part of it. If you want to, it matters. Temperature, color temperature matters. These are things you're gonna have to read about. see if I can. Well, you've seen it with the light off, but I'll do it again. Right? That's a different temperature than this, because that's the blue light and that's a yellow light. They're on different ends of the lumen spectrum. Hopefully you don't have to do reshoots. If you're missing any scenes, you gotta do reshoots, and that's a bummer. So don't, hopefully that doesn't happen to you. And sometimes you can't, sometimes you're just stuck with less movie than you hoped for. You're like, oh fuck, I didn't get that scene. And that's what script supervisor is for. That's why people watch dailies. That's why you might not sleep as much, because as the director, it's kind of your job to just watch the movie as it's happening. You spent all day filming, you got all this footage, and then you spend all night watching the footage that you filmed all day until you fall asleep at your desk. This is real life. This really happens. Expect it. The time that you spend making a movie is gonna be, when you're in it, it's all you do. You live and breathe the film until it's done. And you gotta have everyone on board. You wanna have as little bit of friction as possible, which means being as prepared as possible. And at some point, your movie is fucking done. If you want a timeline, I'll give you some timeline. Because this could take 5 years, this could take 20 years. Right? Eraserhead took 5 years. I think Reservoir Dogs took like 2 or 3 years. It took a long time to get started, but once it started, he filmed it quickly because he knew how to. He had an idea of how he wanted to do that. Right? So script writing can take as long as it takes. That's why buying a pre-existing script is a great option, because then you just have a script. Then it takes as long as it takes to read it and understand it and get to the meaningful heart of the matter, and then you can skip ahead to the storyboarding and it makes it easier. If you have a story to tell, then by all means you tell it. That's the most important thing here, is the story. That's what everyone came to see the movie. They came to see the story, right? The special effects are there to make the story pop. It's to make the story, to emphasize, to draw the eye to what you want to see, to make you feel what they want them to feel. It's all based, everything you've done so far is to demonstrate and give a presentation on this one idea. So if you have a story to tell, by all means, please tell it. The world is waiting for you. We're all waiting to hear the next great story. Every one of us. I will tell you myself, I can't wait. I hope you do. I hope you do, and comment about it. Tell me about it. If I can get around to watching it, that'll be a priority over anything that's pushed upon me from any of these streaming services. And that's what we got to get to next. You have a finished movie. You got investors you got to pay off. They might be your own parents. It might be strangers. There might be a lawsuit involved if you don't get this movie paid for. You got to bring some money in now. You got a finished movie. Timeline. Let's say your script took 3 months to write. It's 120 pages. You have 120 days. You do not go a day without writing a page. No. 3 months, I said. 90 days. Let's say your script is 90 pages long and you take 3 months to write it. You don't take any days off. You do 1 page every day. Now you have 3 pages. Okay, now pre-production is going to take 3 to 6 months. You really want to be as prepared as possible. So let's say 5 months. You're doing all this. You're doing the storyboards. You might have to draw it yourself. I'm not going to tell you your business, but maybe this is the time to put AI in, right? You have your script all written. So you're like, Mary Jane smokes some Mary Jane on her couch. And then you're like, it'll probably be censored because AI is crap for that. But you get what I'm saying. You can take a picture of someone smoking. You can draw it yourself. You can get AI to do it. You get your storyboard together. You have this time. You know by this point what items you have. You want lists of things. I should have said that earlier, but we're saying it now. You want lists of all your people. You want lists of all your places. You want lists of all your things. You want a shot list. Right? You want an emergency contact list. You want to-do lists. You got to be organized. It'll make all the difference in the world. It's one of my big hurdles in this industry is the ADHD, working alone, and being a disorganized piece of shit. You got to get your shit together, and that's a big part of it. And maybe you need a special person who's good at that. I sure do. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. This is how it is. You're prepared. You know where you're gonna film. You use 1 month, and that's being generous. You really should be ready to film in a weekend. All of this is being generous. You can take as long as you want to write your script because no one's paying attention to you and no one's paying you to do it. Good luck. You can take as long as you want to draw your own storyboard because no one's paying you to do it. Until you're ready, you can draw it until you're ready. Good luck. You can take as long as you want to price out these things. Be aware that if you take too long that the prices will change, but you can make your plans and you can make your budget and you can do your best. All this stuff takes time and doesn't necessarily take money. You're still in the research phase. As soon as you start buying makeup, as soon as you start buying props, you have to store that shit somewhere. It has to just be sitting around somewhere. Maybe it's in your garage. Maybe it's in your basement. Maybe you have an extra bedroom. Maybe it's at a friend's house because you don't have your own place. Maybe you have access to something like Berkeley Community Media where there's a non-profit organization with their own equipment and sometimes some classes, and you can go there and rent their equipment. Sooner or later, you gotta do something about this stuff. You just have a bunch of stuff. You're a hoarder now. You're gonna be on TLC. As they're gonna follow you around with a little like a documentary about it, and it's gonna be awkward. You're trying to explain, I'm a filmmaker. You get all your people together. Now you have to. Now they've made a promise to you, which means that they're not taking jobs during that time period that you've locked up from them. And the sooner between the time that you get them to agree to film and the time that you film, the shorter that window is, the better off you'll be. Because there's going to be a lot of people who lose interest or they get sick. Shit happens. You don't want to give yourself time to fail. You don't want to procrastinate and give yourself time to fail. So at some point, this isn't free anymore. At some point, it's not just on a Google Docs. It's in real life. It's manifesting. It's taking up space in your house. It's taking up space in someone else's house. It's taking money to do things. And you gotta be, every minute that you're wasting is a minute that you're wasting. It's $1 you're wasting. Whatever. Every minute you're wasting is $1 you're wasting. You gotta be careful. You gotta be conscious. And it totally matters. So you want to do this in a weekend if you can. The filming itself. You want to be so ready that everyone can do this on their day off from work and you have exactly that day figured out. and not too far in advance for the actual day, but it kind of all comes together. Or maybe you know two people who can do their scenes right now, and then you film those other people later when when it's their turn for their scene and they're available. You gotta worry about stuff like this, and stuff is gonna happen. It's going to happen. No matter how prepared you are, you're slightly better off being slightly underprepared than wasting time preparing for things. You want to be prepared enough to be flexible is important. A lot of people look at me like I'm sloppy, but part of why I do things the way that I do things is I know that shit happens, and I got to be ready to pivot. I got to be ready to duck and move. I got to be ready for whatever comes my way as soon as it's there. That's an important aspect of this. So you can be as prepared as possible and have all your contingencies not worked out. So no problem, I got a first aid kit. No problem, I got a spare battery. No problem, I got a can of gas in the back. No problem, I have an emergency fund set aside for exactly this stuff. No problem, I brought snacks. Be prepared as you can be, but also be prepared for things to change so suddenly and so dramatically that you can't even, you don't even know what the fuck just happened. You're just like, oh my God. Be prepared to change the whole situation to make it work. Right? It's a cut what you love is a famous editing rule. It's true for all aspects of film. It's not just editing, it's for the writing process too. Sometimes your scene just isn't working and it doesn't need to be there, but it's a really fun scene. If you really want to keep it, just set it aside. Maybe you could rework it into a different movie. If it's the editing process, set it aside. You could use it for the trailer. People will be disappointed, but if you loved it that much, I mean, use it. Set it aside. Don't let it go to waste, but also it can't be here. It doesn't belong in your final product, so you had to cut it out, even if it was your favorite part. You filmed in a month. You spent 8 months preparing. At some point, it costs you money. That's this month. Now you're whatever money you spend it in 1 month so that your rentals are all self-contained. We're talking about month 9, so you're filming in September. It's just a hypothetical. It's just a hypothetical. You woke up on New Year's Day and you started writing a script and you're done writing it by March, and then you start drawing. You're done writing it by April. You start drawing it and you start preparing, and by August you have your people and you have everything prepared and you have stuff ordered on Amazon by the end of August. I'm just using Amazon as an example. It could be anywhere. You have your stuff is in transit from where you ordered it from to where you want it delivered to. In September 1st, your locations are rented for the whole month. Your green screen, whatever, is built. Your actors are ready to go. October 1st, they're all gone. Everything's gone. And from October through Thanksgiving, you're editing, you're putting it all together. You might have to call people back in to run lines again, but hopefully you've done your ADR earlier and you're just prepared for all of this. It's really important. And you want to premiere. You're doing a Christmas premiere. And what was I saying? Don't fuck with festivals. I mean, you can if you want to. That's your business. I'm not going to talk about it. My 2 cents in the matter is fuck festivals. You're wasting your time and money, and You're gambling and you're spinning your wheels in the mud, and there's just a better way to go about your life. Don't fuck with festivals. And if you choose to do that, then research it on your own. Good luck to you. You want my opinion? This is a movie you made for the community, and the community has been involved with it the whole time, and you've been pimping it on all the social media platforms the whole time. You've been showing behind the scenes footage. You've invited all your family and all your friends. You have investors on the line. Hopefully everyone's really excited and they're talking about this movie nonstop. You get your community involved. You film it in community locations. You get your community involved. Get your church involved. I don't personally belong to a church. I'm telling you, get your people wherever you are and whoever you interact with. Get as many people to know what you're doing as you can. Just tell everybody. Get it hyped up. Get people excited. Get them involved in making it so they feel like they're a part of it. One way to do this is to have your story, the story itself, involve a marginalized community, right? I'm Jewish, so I would make a Jewish story. I have a wide range of sexual interests, so I could probably make a gay story or a pansexual story or an asexual story, because I've felt those things at different times. You can do what's what you know and what is respectful to your culture. Do not try to appropriate other people's cultures for this. If you're going to get that far, then you might, like, if you're going to have an African American story, maybe hire an African American director, African American writers. Give the voice to the community where the voice belongs. Let them speak from their heart, because it'll have a stronger emotional impact at the end. That community will then be a part of your story, right? If it takes place at a pizza parlor, and you film that pizza parlor, and everyone who works there and everyone who loves that pizza parlor will like, especially if it's a mom and pop one, if it's just an independently owned one, that's the kind of energy you want to bring to this. You're part of the community from the beginning, and the community will be there. I gotta check my battery. I'm running out of time. I want to get through all of this. I want to just tell you I want to finish telling you the story. It's called four-walling. Remember how you rented the theater to market to the dentist investors at the beginning? You rent a theater. They don't really care what you put on the screen. You sell merch out front. The theater is getting a piece of the ticket sales, but sometimes you can keep a chunk of that. That's kind of something you have to work out with the theater. For projection, you're going to want FAT32 format, or FAT, XFAT. They don't do NTFS as far as I've been reading. I haven't gotten that far in the process. I have gotten one movie into a theater, and it was a fun experience, but the movie sucked so bad that my friend deleted all of everything, and I moved out to the desert to possibly never work in film again. I didn't direct it. I paid for it, and I didn't get my money back, and I'm sad. I'm sad more about the loss of art than anything else. I lost my train of thought. Four-walling is great. You got a community buzz going, and you get to the local theater. Support your local theaters, and you sell the tickets, and you sell merch, and you get butts in the seats. You give people reasons to be in the seats. You make a party out of it. You get everyone together for a Q&A at the end. You make a big deal about it. It's your movie. It's your premiere. You have a rap party. It's your movie. It's your premiere. Budget for it. Enjoy it. You want it on a flash drive for this thing. I also strongly recommend getting hooked up to streaming services through Film Hub or IndieWire. Those are the best ways to do that. And then there's a whole deal. You have a finished movie, you can take it to market. You can take it to the American film market. You can take it to Toronto. You can take it to Austin. You can take it to Atlanta. You can take it to Cannes. You can take it to London. You can take it to Tokyo. I don't know. A lot of them are going to come to you at the American film market. You rent a room. You show them a reel. You get your actors involved again. You sell it like you sold the investors, but now you're trying to sell the finished product so they can just watch the movie from start to finish. It's better than a festival. You go to the market. It's boring. It's just business, but you get to watch their finished movie and you get to see people's reactions. And now you're distributed all by yourself. And you made the movie all by yourself. Congratulations.
Sweet seduction in the magazine, endless pleasure limousine. In the back shakes tambourine. In the back shakes tambourine. Nicotine from silver screen. Nicotine from silver screen.